Hello everyone, welcome. Glad everyone could get here from planning. So we'll start by reminding everyone present that the meeting is being live streamed as well as recorded via the internet, and this recording is archived for future viewing. Could all participants please mute themselves when not speaking in order to avoid any background noise or feedback when other participants are speaking. If a participant wishes to speak, can you please put your hand up if you can be seen on screen, or use the yellow raise hand function. Please ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat function for the sake of the recording. The chat function may be used to highlight any technical issues and/or to grab the attention of the chair or Democratic Services Officer. If any participant has difficulty hearing or being heard when you're addressing the committee, then let the chair or Democratic Officer know. If you have a webcam, then try turning this off, as this will help with broadband or Wi-Fi bandwidth, so you can at least hear and be heard. So welcome everyone, good to see everyone again. We'll get straight into it with agenda item 1, which is the appointment of vice chair. So are there any nominations for that position, please? Councillor Goodjohn.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Helen Payne, please.
Thank you, Emma. Councillor Hennessy.
I would like to second that, please.
Thank you very much. Any others? No. Councillor Payne, congratulations on your appointment as vice chair. Would you like to say a few words?
No, thank you very much. Hopefully, at being chair last year, hopefully I'm gained a little bit more experience this year, so we can continue with the good work that we've been doing, scrutinising all the departments that we scrutinise, and also congratulate them on the good work that they do also.
Lovely. Thank you, Helen. Look forward to working with you for another year. So agenda item 2, apologies for absence. Liz.
There's one to myself, Chair, from Councillor Godfrey.
Thank you very much. I don't think I see any other hands up, so we'll move on to agenda item 3, so approving the minutes of the meeting held on 20th of April. So just for members of the committee to note, our reference to the Foreign Council at the last meeting about the youth representation report, that was agreed at a Foreign Council meeting, which was great. So to remind everyone, that was for committee membership to include 2 non-voting seats for representatives of the Vale Youth Forum and the Vale Youth Council. So this will be reviewed again in 2 years' time. So if we can have a proposer and a seconder to approve that.
I propose them.
Thanks, Councillor Hennessy. Any seconder?
I'll second Wendy Gilligan.
Thank you, Councillor Gilligan. Agenda item 4, any declarations of interests? And just before we get into that, I'd like to remind members that if you are declaring an interest at this time or in future, you will need to ensure that you state the nature of those interests as well. So that's just a general reminder going through different committees at this time. Councillor Payne.
Yeah, mine's a personal but not prejudicial. It's a general thing of being a trustee and vice chair of Vale Glamorgan Youth Forum.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I don't think there are any others. So we'll move on to agenda item 5. So this is a report of the Director of Corporate Resources, 4th quarter scrutiny recommendation tracking, and the proposed annual forward work programme for 23-24. So Tom Bowring's been the lead officer on this, the scrutiny recommendation and proposed annual forward work programme, but unfortunately you'll have to put up with me taking the lead on this agenda item tonight. So in the first instance, the scrutiny recommendation tracking follows the additional actionable recommendations that this committee makes. So for example, the most recent of this is the letters that have been sent by the committee to congratulate the 3 schools that were inspected during the autumn term that were awarded with a no follow-up designation from Estin, which is the most recent example of that from this committee. So the forward work programme does what it says on the tin, and it's an important guide to those reports and documents that consistently come to the committee. So for example, revenue monitoring and capital monitoring, which comes to this committee at semi-regular intervals. Although it is important to note that these items may be subject to change depending on the prevailing circumstances. The forward work programme forms part of a response to a prior audit Wales review into scrutiny at the Vale Glamorgan Council. Audit Wales have focused on this in the Vale and elsewhere, and the purpose is 1, to provide a clear rationale for topic selection, 2, be more outcome focused, 3, ensure that the method of scrutiny is best suited to the topic area and the outcome desired. 4, align scrutiny programs with the council's performance management, self-evaluation and improvement arrangements. So that's come directly from Audit Wales as to why this is taking place. So next month, as part of the Forward Work Programme, for example, we'll be considering the annual Welsh Monitoring Report and the Corporate Safeguarding Annual Report, the latter of which is being considered by all scrutiny committees. The programme doesn't include other agenda items such as references from Cabinet, which take place on an ad hoc basis, and other things like agenda items directed by the Chair, Cabinet call-ins, and so on. So there won't be more that we discuss in scrutinising committee than what you will see on the Forward Work Programme. So in addition, if any individual councillors on the committee have any suggestions or input into potential future agenda items or topics for discussion, then please get in touch with me or Liz Whittaker, the Democratic Officer. We'll have a discussion around implementing that in future meetings. So we're always open to discussion on things like that. So thank you for listening to that. Does anyone have any questions on that at the moment? Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Chair. I did have, in terms of considerations, I note that there are, let me get to the right bit. Climate change and nature implications. I also wonder about considerations around well-being considerations. Should that be something that we include, particularly in relation to tracking, which is a bit further up, I think, on 4. So it's just a consideration in terms of well-being, in light of things that have happened in education with staff members and their well-being. Should that be a consideration?
Okay, thank you, Helen. I agree with that. I think that's an important thing to consider. I know Liz is scribbling that down. So unless there's any objections to that, I think that's definitely something I'd like to take forward as well. So thank you for that. Councillor Birch.
Thank you. I think I mentioned this to you the other day. I think that it would be good to look at attendance, because obviously the impact of COVID has been tremendous. There are some children who have never come back into the school system and some that probably never will. And there's obviously also led to a rise in homeschooling. So I think it would be interesting to look at attendance, the percentages and so forth, and what our authority is doing to bring these children back into the fold, because I know that both Martin Dacey and Martine are doing tremendous work on projects to bring children back in. So I think that's something that we should all be aware of. Most of us are school governors, and this applies to both primary schools and secondary schools. I'm sure Morwen will be agreed with me on that, and I think that that's something we should be looking at in some detail.
Thank you, Rhiannon.
Sorry,
absolutely, Morwen, go on.
Do you want me to come in there, Chair?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, more than happy to do that. It's something that we share at DMT level every month. And actually, we're in the process of sharing attendance data with all schools as well. So what you will be aware of, I would expect, is that because of the performance measures, which have now changed, what we wouldn't be able to present to you is individual schools' attendance. We can't do that. So it's no longer published. It's no longer used for comparative purposes. We could share the Vale of Glamorgan's attendance, but what we couldn't do is share the attendance of other local authorities. So what you will see, though, and we're more than happy to do this, I will discuss this with Martin and our new inclusion officer, who's Susan Cowan. What we could do is a report on attendance. You'll be able to see where we were pre-pandemic and now. It's not going to be a comparable, a good comparison, but it is reflective really across Wales. But we could talk as well about the strategies we do it as well. Would you like that in the autumn term?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I mean, we can look at how we enact it, but if we can have a further discussion about this, that'd be really helpful.
Absolutely fine. Yes, September I know is a very busy agenda. It'll be a long one, I think. So let us know when you think that would be appropriate, and certainly we can go ahead with that.
Great. Thank you, Morwen and Rhiannon. I've made a note of that, something to come back to in the future. And as I said, open to any and all ideas from councillors on the committee. Brilliant. Any other points or Councillor Hodges?
Thank you, Chairman. In view of tonight's meeting being incredibly light, I thought we should be looking to bolster the amount of discussion we have in this committee. There's a couple of things, well, three things, in fact, that I would suggest that we need to look at. The first one, because don't forget, we're not just education, which is learning, we're also culture as well. I'd like some idea on when we're going to discuss progress on the proposed changes at Arts Central in Barry. I'd also like a general discussion on and an update on the position of our libraries within the Vale. And also, I think within a few months of the new term starting in September, the new year, I would like an idea of any effect we have on employment in our schools due to the changes in the school budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. I agree. I think those are all very worthy topics for discussion. We will be next month having an agenda item on school funding, which will hopefully cover the third point about the impact of employment as regards to school funding. And again, looking at Liz, we've made a note of the art centres and the libraries, so I'll have a discussion with the Councillor Hodges. You're on mute, Nick.
Ignore me, my hand came down, it went back up again on its own. Apologies.
No worries.
Control Shift K.
Great, thank you. So yeah, I agree about that. There was in the, I can't remember exactly where in the documents for tonight's meeting, it was about libraries, but I think there was some mention of a previous agenda item on libraries, which I'd be happy to take up again. And the Arts Centre, absolutely. So I'm with you on that. Trevor Baker wants to come in on that.
Howdy. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm the head of service for strategy, community learning and resources, which includes schools, libraries, arts and culture. I was just going to suggest we usually do an annual report to Scrutiny on libraries, but we do have a lot of innovations that are happening in our libraries at the moment. So we have new makerspaces, for example, which are opening up, and some new services and things which have changed. So it'd be really exciting to bring some of those maybe in the autumn term in the next couple of months, if that works for you, Chair. We also have, as part of our the council's budget review, a review of the arts service. So just in response to Councillor Hodges' point about what's happening with Arts Central. So again, we'll be bringing back reports sooner rather than later to this committee, looking at the options around that.
Great, thank you for that, Trevor, and thank you for the suggestion, Nick, which will be actioning soon. Yeah, that's just Trevor's legacy hand. Any other points or questions anyone would like to raise? No, good. I think we made some good progress there. So as I said, anyone who has any ideas for topics to discuss or things that you would like to scrutinise, get in touch with Liz or myself, and we'll certainly look into those. So the recommendations for this agenda item, so number one, the status of the actions listed in appendices A and B to report is agreed. That the Cabinet Annual Forward Work Programme attached at C in the context of the committee Annual Forward Work Programme be noted, and that the proposed Annual Forward Work Programme attached to Appendix A is Appendix D, sorry, is approved and uploaded to the council's website. So if anyone would like to endorse those in a seconder.
Happy to endorse.
Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. Anyone second?
I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Goodjohn, very much. So that's the last substantive agenda item for this evening. So the next meeting will be on the Thursday, the 15th of June. Thank you very much.